Hello and welcome to the Travel Fuel Podcast. I'm your host, Todd Duplain. We're the show for the person that has a travel bug but maybe doesn't know where to go or where to start. I'll share all the details of some great trips I've personally researched, planned, and gone on with tips for activities, great coffee spots, and awesome restaurants. If you want to follow these details as a blueprint, it's basically planned out for you. Or at the very least, I hope you find some inspiration for your next adventure.
On this episode, we're going to discuss a trip to Whitefish, Montana, where we explored Glacier National Park, or the west side of the park anyways. We'll get into that a little bit. And today I'm joined by my boy, Wade Calvert. This is, the third one of these you've done with me?
Number 3, man.
Yeah,
just as good as the first 2, hopefully.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you taking the time out, man. So
Absolutely.
I know 6 kids between us, most of them on your side. Life's busy. So we're doing this one via Skype instead of in person.
The quarantine edition. I like it.
Yeah, we don't want to get woke scolded for not being socially distant. So we're following the guidelines here, everybody, in case you're wondering. Anyhow, we just got back from this trip. It's almost been a month already, man. June 28th to July 2nd, 2020, with Scott, kind of our annual trip. So time's flying by.
Sure is.
Yeah, so let's start with how we got there. We flew into Kalispell, just right outside of Whitefish from LAX. So with a layover in Denver, we couldn't get anything direct in there. So 2 hours to Denver, 2 more to Kalispell. Layover was just long enough to get to basically the next gate with a snack. So it was pretty easy. And think about when we got to LAX, man, kind of weird.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously I'm born and raised Southern California. I've been to LAX a million times. And because of COVID, it was so eerie. It was like that Tom Hanks movie. I think it was called The Terminal or whatever, when he just gets left by himself. No lines. I think we were the only flight leaving from that entire terminal. So just to see everything closed and nobody in there, it was weird, man. And obviously having to fly with the masks and whatnot, the layover ended up being a good thing in Denver, just like to get out and breathe a little bit. But yeah, super eerie, unlike anything I've ever seen.
Yeah, I was taking tons of pictures. Then, of course, our flight was like almost full. So nobody in the airport except everybody that was there was on our flight. So, but we've definitely been back for more than 14 days. So I think we came out unscathed, COVID-wise. So cool. So yeah, we got there around like 2, if you remember, and checked into our condo. And this is the first time we've got a Vrbo or Airbnb or whatever you refer to it. We usually have done hotels on these trips. So I think that was a nice change. And they got a ton in downtown Whitefish, like we stayed in, of these rentals.
Yeah, for sure. One of the nice things, I mean, being able to stop at the store and just pick up supplies, being able to make breakfast, make sandwiches, or bring snacks on the trail, having a kitchen for the first time, and then also a washer dryer, which proved to be pretty handy because it was a pretty wet trip. So
yeah,
those were huge pluses for sure.
Definitely saved a ton of money. Real cost effective, not having to go out to breakfast and lunch every day too. So that worked. So we get there, and as usual on these trips, we hustled right to Glacier. It was about, what do you say, like maybe 40 minute drive from Whitefish to get to the park. And we did Avalanche Lake via Trail of the Cedars. So that was like, boom, off the plane, checked into the condo and right straight to it. And first glimpse of Glacier. I don't know, what do you think?
It was cool. I mean, so that hike. So first off, right, we get into the park and the east side of the park was completely shut down. Yeah. Right. Because of COVID, because I forget which Indian reservation it backs up to. But it was closed. So, there's a concentration of people all on the western side. Kind of, that's one of the more popular hikes at the park, but for good reason, right? I mean, great way to start. Landed, I think it was 5 to 6-ish miles. Does that sound about right?
Yeah. Right around 5. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So nice little short hike and get off the plane, stretch the legs, and then you just come out to this unreal scenery. Just this pristine lake and the huge mountains in the background. All the waterfalls are coming down. So it's absolutely beautiful. And again, for a 5 mile hike, I mean, definitely a great way to start out the trip for sure.
It was awesome. Yeah. So again, that's the Avalanche Lake Trail via Trail of the Cedars. So if you're looking for that one, and we'll be putting all this up on the website with the Strava maps and everything later, so you'll be able to reference it. Just not up yet. So that was it. And then powered back to Whitefish and had our first exposure to Jersey Boys pizza. We like to carb up on these trips because we're burning them. So pretty awesome. I think I got put into a food coma straight out of the gate. So
yeah, it was. So if you're there, what did I get that first night? Oh, I got the half Philly cheesesteak pizza, half what they call the dangry. And I don't think you can really go wrong. I think whatever you get's great, but 14-inch size pretty much did it right. So that would be, highly recommended.
Yes. Why share when everybody can have their own 14-incher? Take it down. Exactly. So that wrapped it up the first day. And then second day we headed back sort of to where we started to Avalanche, which going to the Sun Road is the main road that goes all the way through Glacier Park. And it's supposed to be one of the most beautiful drives in the country, but it was closed at Avalanche. So
right.
We had something in mind, but I think once we got out and got started, we thought we were going to hike all the way to the Loop trail, because you could hike or bike farther beyond where the road was closed. You just couldn't drive. And so we thought it was a couple miles, and then we got to the Red Rock Falls and kind of stopped to take a closer look at the map and figured out, I think what is going to be like 7 miles one direction just to get to the trailhead.
Yeah. And then we were already looking at tacking on, I think, like a 19 to 20 mile hike. It just wasn't realistic. No. So, we flipped back. It would have been a great time to have a bike, an e-bike or any kind of bike. Frankly, we could have probably ridden out to the trail and started it, but our bad, we didn't know, and things were really uncertain. It was sort of changing every day with COVID, and as you mentioned, the Indian Reservation elected they're not going to open the eastern entrance of Glacier this year. So all those circumstances sort of delayed the opening of going to Sun Road, which has since opened further. So you can get back and do more of the glacier hikes that we had to miss, where you're going to see more of those bears and whatnot. But at the time, that's what we were left with. So, but it kind of worked out. So we ended up turning back, went up to Whitefish Mountain, and went ziplining. That was the day we did that. It turned out to be awesome. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I'd never done that before. And that's one of the things that I love about our trips that we go on, and just being able to call an audible and go do something else. There's tons of activities. I think we talked about past podcasts about our experience in Moab. We were all geared up and set to go river rafting, and there were 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts. So again, called an audible and ended up hitting Canyonlands, and that was a great time, great trip. It wasn't even on the list. And similarly, this go around, calling the audible, doing zip lines, which was awesome, and then meeting some people that grew up in the area, and they gave us some tips on some other hikes that we could hit in the western side of the park. So, everything happens for a reason, and on these trips, you just kind of go with the flow, and usually it's a good result.
Exactly. And that was kind of did some like weird treetop short zip lines, but that was my first dedicated zip line course as well. And I know that a couple of them are 1,900 feet long and 300 feet up in the air. So it's some pretty epic views. They also have downhill mountain biking there, an alpine slide, all kinds of stuff up at that's the Whitefish Mountain Resort. So
yeah, if you go with your kids, it looks like they had a little adventure rope course and all that type of stuff too. So tons of activities for the family during the summertime, for sure.
Definitely, it's amazing. So, after our audible, wrapped it up, and I guess it was burger night. So we went to Casey's, Got a little
Yep.
smoked out in there, but food was decent. Yeah.
Yeah. Food was good. They need to maybe get a new vent fan or something like that. But maybe they just reopened or something in COVID and it wasn't working or something. I don't know. Got a little smoky at the end there, but the food was good.
It was, yeah. So that wrapped up day 2. Then day 3, again, we were sort of left to explore the west side of the park, which we did a lot over there. So now next time we'll be able to dedicate to the east side. But we met the locals on our zipline trip, and they recommended Bowman Lake to us, which is more of described as like a local spot, and because it's a little deeper. So we drove up past Pole Bridge to Bowman Lake, and it's a little sketchy there at the kind of ranger station.
Yeah.
Wasn't sure if we should drive out there or not in our little sedan rental car.
Yeah. So fortunately it was a Subaru and had all-wheel drive. So the weather the whole trip, right? Before we went, sunny. When we left, sunny. While we were there, basically rained every day, right?
Yeah.
And so to get to Bowman Lake, first, it's probably a solid 30-minute drive once you're inside the park, just to get up to that area, right? Up to like towards Pole Bridge, and then you're driving through, and you get to this separate ranger station, and to go the last 6 miles, it's all off road, and so in the rain, the ranger's talking to us, and he's like, "Well, you guys have a spare tire in that thing?" We're like, it's a rental. Let me check. So we popped the trunk, and we did. And he's like, "All right, good." He's like, "Well, we're doing a search and rescue. So, if you get stuck down there, you're going to have to change the tire yourself. We're not going to be able to tow you out. There's no service. So you're kind of on your own. Or you can hike back." And so, that was the dilemma we're looking at. Like, did we just try to drive down or do we hike? And then it was kind of the same predicament as the day before, when a 6-mile hike down plus the trail that we were going to do was like a 13-mile loop. Yeah. And then 6 back. There's no way we're going to do it. So I think we sucked it up and said we'd do the drive. Fortunately, we did, and we made it down just fine. But if you're planning on doing the Bowman Lake, make sure you have all-wheel drive. If you got an SUV, a truck, even better, something lifted. But for sure, highly, highly worth it. So make the drive out there, go do it, because not a lot of people know about it, and it was awesome.
Yeah. I feel like on these trips, we like to, the popular stuff is popular for a reason, but there's also some real hidden gems, and we always try to at least find one of them. And this was definitely it on this trip. Yeah. Really kind of off the beaten path. I think we saw 5 people over a 5.5 hour hike, or however long it's 6-hour hike. It took us, so we ended up doing over 13 miles. We gained 2,638 feet of elevation gain. It somehow seemed to be uphill both ways. So, and at mile 8, and the skies just like opened up. Those last 5 miles, it was relentless. It was get the weirdest thoughts in your head, just out there in the middle of God's country, or whatever you want to call it, and just getting hammered by wet and just this grind of an uphill that won't quit. It's like, imagine, what if I just laid down right now? What would happen? I don't know.
Yeah, it was just a torrential downpour. It was absolutely dumping out there. But so to start off the hike, when we get down like that little 6-mile dirt road or whatever, you pull in, and the parking lot just overlooks Bowman Lake, which is awesome. Just again, like pristine lake, gorgeous backdrop. Again, if you got kids and you just want to drive to see something cool, and it's an easy to know hike, that'd be a great spot to go pack a lunch and check it out. And then if you are up for the hike and you want to do something a little off the beaten path, the loop we did was what, Quartz Lake?
Quartz Lake, yeah. There's upper and lower, and we did the loop to see both of them. You can go out and back one way, or you can just loop the whole thing.
Yeah. And
yeah, thanks for mentioning that. I forgot the lake.
But so if you're feeling adventurous or you like doing, overnights or whatnot, you can hike back whatever 6-ish miles to Quartz Lake, and I think there were 4 campsites, just secluded. You got to pack your own stuff in. There's a separate area to tie up your food and all that stuff because you're in deep bear country. But these camping sites, they're just sitting right on top of the lake. Absolutely gorgeous. So if you're up for that or that's your jam, definitely would recommend that. Quartz Lake, hike back, bring your gear, and make sure you get the spot. But it looked awesome. We ran into a couple that were there. They had just finished setting up their camp, and I was pretty jealous, actually.
Yeah.
Little did I know I was going to be jealous because they were so dry and what we had ahead of us. So we were talking with them, and you can either turn around and go back the way you came and just do out and back, or complete the loop. And so they came the other way, and they said, hey, if you guys are going to complete the loop, you should go check it out because you see the other lake and whatnot, just different scenery. And they said, but just a heads up, the trail hasn't been cleared, and we counted, there were 92 trees that you got to climb over or go around. I thought they were exaggerating, and then we did it. It was, oh my gosh. But again, I mean, this is the hike that makes the trip, right? Like, we're still talking about it. One thing, get waterproof shoes. I didn't have waterproof boots, and it was pretty miserable when that rain comes down. That was a little not great. And then climbing over and under these big trees and whatnot, but it was fun. It was great.
Yeah, rugged hike.
Yeah.
But obviously we started at the lake, and again, thanks for bringing it up because I just got right into the hike and failed to even mention that. It's a gorgeous spot. You just got to sit there for a while. And then once you get back to Quartz too, the view from that campsite was just tremendous. And you're back at Bowman, you got all these multicolored rocks, rainbow colored rocks at all these lakes and glaciers, just really unique to the area. And just take a minute to soak it all in. So that was it. We made it back, and it was just our car left there. Everybody had gotten the heck out because of all the rain. And fortunately, the Subaru pulled through for us and got us out.
Yeah,
pretty little later than we thought, though.
For sure. So, I mean, one of the nice things too, for anybody listening or watching that hasn't been out there, if you go in the summertime, I mean, it stays light till whatever 10 or 10:30 at night, right? I mean, so we were able to do these hikes, like for Bowman that day, packed a lunch, kind of got back there, ate our lunch down at the lake, and then hit the trail. And we must have got back to the car. I don't know, what was it, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, something like that?
Yeah.
So, to be able to do that and not have to worry about booking it back before it gets dark or whatnot, that was kind of nice. It is, as I mentioned, bear country, so make sure you have bear spray. We saw, a lot of the bear scat all over the place. No bears, but so make sure you got the bear spray.
A lot of bear steamers, but no actual bears. So
exactly.
In doing more research, they apparently say you're almost guaranteed to see one over on the glacier side of Glacier that we didn't quite make it to. So next time we'll get our bear encounter.
Yep.
That I think I want to have, but I probably don't actually want to have. So
from afar, as long as you're between me and the bear, we're good.
So that was it. We motored back. It was getting a little later, so some of the restaurants were closing up. So we went back to the old reliable Jersey Boys again, and took it down, and went back and just hung out at the condo, played some poker, and then they have every night at 10 o'clock. This alarm goes off in Whitefish. And it took us a few days to figure out what it was. What did you determine that it was? A curfew?
Yeah, there was some. Maybe early 1900s, there was a curfew that went into effect. And so that kind of at 10 a.m., they sounded the alarm to start the curfew. Now it's just symbolic, and they still do it at 10 p.m. every night. But yeah, it took us a couple nights to wonder like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's what it was for.
Yeah. So if you hear that, it's the thing. So then day 4 is our last full day there. Kind of the shops and everything were sort of seemed to be kind of closing early downtown. So we wanted to kind of do something a little easier on our last day so we could get back and explore downtown Whitefish a little bit and pick up the gifts for the kids and wives and all that good stuff. So we did another rainy hike, of course, McDonald Creek in John Lake loop. And that was super easy. You basically just pull over to the side of the road on going to the Sun Road, just past Lake McDonald Lodge.
Yeah.
It'll be on your right-hand side on the opposite side of the street from the lodge. And you can really go in either direction. We crossed back over the street, did the creek first, and then looped back around John Lake. So it was cool. It was like, 3 miles, maybe, not even.
Yeah. Pretty tame hike, tons of families and everything. Saw a couple deer on it, which was fun. Great scenery. I mean, what's so cool about it, I mean, every hike's a little bit different, right? So a little bit different topography, different scenery or whatnot, but between the water and the trees and just anytime you get a chance at a view, it's awesome. So, whatever you can squeeze in hike wise, do it. Again, we were only focused on the west side of the park because that's what was open to us. But, the one takeaway for sure is we're going back. We got to do the east side.
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
Right? So maybe either book a longer trip to get both sides in, because I feel like it wouldn't have been enough time to be able to go and see and do the things that we wanted to do. I feel like we could easily do, 4, 5, 6, 7 days. The east side had some longer hikes, and it seems like there's some of the higher rated hikes tend to be on the east side. So definitely need to go back and explore some of those.
For sure. And it butts up against a Canadian national park. So if you have your passport, you can just keep going, roll into Canada. It's like 20 miles away and see a whole nother national park that I would tell you the name of, but I a little poorly forgot to write that down on my notes. So sorry, but I'm sure you can figure it out. And then if you hear anybody blowing a whistle, it's not a whistle, it's a screeching marmot. What did we determine that was? A screaming marmot or a something marmot, but they're all over the place.
Like that.
And sounds like somebody's just walking around blowing a whistle or crying for help with their whistle. But don't worry, nobody's in distress. It's just the marmot yelling at you. So, so we got to explore the town. Super cool. And typically we do a fancy dinner, in quotes, on these, steak, whatnot, and made the mistake of not making a reservation because we thought it wasn't going to be that busy.
So, it really wasn't. I think the challenge is just, with COVID, there was, a lot of the restaurants had closed tables and whatnot for social distancing, so less capacity. And I think that was an oversight on our part. But I mean, hopefully, who knows how long that lasts or how long that's kind of the new normal. But as long as that's the case, I'd say call ahead, just make a reservation. We thought we'd be able to walk in, but we weren't.
Yeah, we tried. So, for Tupelo Grill and then Latitude 48 to try to get our steak game going. I mean, we could have got in, but it was like a couple hours to wait, and we're far too hungry. So we ended up going to Mama Blanca's, cool little Latin food spot, and after that, probably one of my favorite parts of the trip, we did some axe throwing at Hank's Hatchets right there in Whitefish, and certainly something I never did. I don't know if we're out in California. I don't even know if they have it here, maybe inland somewhere, but it was a cool experience.
Well, probably not in California, because again, the insurance in Montana is probably about $20 a month. California is probably $5,000. But It was awesome. I'd never done it either. Think of basically darts, except you're throwing hatchets, right? So it took a little while to get the rhythm down, right? The first few kind of clanked off, but once you get into the motion and the rhythm, it was awesome. Lots of fun.
Yeah, you got to step into it and snap the elbow like a baseball. You can't stand flat-footed or it'll just bounce off. So there's your tip for the day. And then the second tip is don't try to catch a flying axe that's coming through the air at you, because it'll slice your finger off. Like Scott found out. Luckily he pulled back at the last second, but it got him a little bit. He bled through about 4 Band-Aids, but luckily there was no amputation.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was pretty cool. So Hank's Hatchets, yeah, it's basically like a bowling alley. You get a lane and some axes. They're super cool to help you out, and go check them out.
Yep.
And then that was it, man. That wrapped up the night. The morning we went to Lula's Cafe. It's in the old historic Masonic temple. Just because we didn't want to cook on the day we were leaving the condo and have to clean up. So that was a pretty good spot, pretty popular there.
Yeah, good breakfast spot. It was crowded. Great food too. So if you, if you're not making breakfast or you like going out for breakfast, would definitely recommend that spot for sure.
Definitely. And then we did a little last minute shopping and found this really cool shop I want to shout out to called Axe Head. It's a mercantile boutiques. I'll do their own description. We're a small shop in a small town, designing and fabricating original handmade gifts with full grain leather, solid hardwoods, and American steel. So we sort of saw it when it was closed and then went in there, and Randy and the owner and his wife, they were in there, and
yeah,
super chill, real custom stuff. You got your hat on right now for anybody that's watching it, but
there you go.
Boom.
And they make everything, all of their leather, wood goods, all of it's handmade, which is awesome. Always like to support small businesses. So really enjoyed speaking with them and being able to buy a little something. And they had a lot of cool stuff. So for sure, if you're out there, check out the store. A lot of great merchandise. You won't be disappointed.
Definitely. And then that was about it. We cruised over to Whitefish Lake for a second, but again, we had not great weather. So we just see what their city beach was like and just get one last little meditation in or whatever. And back to the Kalispell airport. It's super tiny. So it's like you're through TSA in about 3 seconds. Although it's probably actually busier than LAX, oddly.
Yeah, right.
That we experienced on the way out. And yeah, then we got back home on that last night, and that wrapped up another one of our annual trips. So like all this planning is so much fun for me to do and get with you guys and like figure out where we want to go and where we want to stay. And then there's all this build up and counting down the days, and then it happens and it's like gone in a flash. And it's like,
Yeah. And this year was nuts too. Cause again, COVID, I got, 2 weeks before we left, I get an email. Hey, your flights have been canceled.
Yeah.
Choose one of the options below to rebook, and there's nothing listed, right? So it's like a mad dash to try to figure out how we're getting there. Our condo, we had to book, and basically there was, hey, if you can't come because of COVID, too bad, non-refundable, right? So, a lot of things that were kind of up in the air, but I'm glad that we were able to continue to figure it out, and we're on to the next one, and we'll figure it out and plan for where we're going to go, and we've got a nice little streak here, so just try to keep that going. And I think it's been 4 years in a row. Go for number 5 and keep clicking away.
Yeah, try to keep the content coming. I missed a couple of trips earlier, so this is the first podcast in a while. We had some in the can, so good to get another one out. I did a weird quarantine check-in one, if anybody had the unfortunate chance of listening to that. Sorry, I thought I was trying to be productive and put something out there, but it showed a little craziness. So here's a legit one. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and thanks for sharing your day with us. Wade, thanks again for taking time out of your day to record this thing with me.
Absolutely.
And you can find us on social media. Handles are at TravelFuel62. So number 62. That's how many national parks there are, because you need trouble remembering. or online at travel-fuel.com. If you enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe, share, and leave us a rating. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks again for listening. I hope we've fueled some inspiration for your next adventure, and we'll see you next time.